Chapter 1. Glitch in the System. When I woke up, two things hit me. This wasn't my bed. I was going to vomit. I barely made it to the sink. I gripped the edge of the counter and spat bile. Something was wrong. This wasn't the polished marble suite of the Onyx Crest stronghold. This wasn't silk sheets and command terminals. This was a dingy apartment, peeling wallpaper, flickering fluorescent light. A cheap fan in the corner wheezed like it had asthma. Two twin beds. One microwave. A pile of dirty laundry. My kingdom had been replaced with a second-rate sitcom set. System error, I thought grimly. Bathrooms down the hall. A sleepy voice muttered behind me. I spun, nearly slipped, and grabbed the counter for support. There he was, a beta by the scent, shirtless, bedhead, stretching like a bored cat. His voice had that low, lazy quality, like he hadn't woken up properly in 3 years. Sharp jaw, long lashes, dead eyes. "Who are you?" I asked. "Did you hit your head somewhere?" "I'm Gene, your roommate," he said. "I don't have a roommate. You've had one for 6 months. Want toast?" He opened the fridge. "No, I want to know what the hell is going on," I snapped. Gene pulled out orange juice like this was just another Tuesday. "Didn't sleep again? You said you were weaning off the suppressants." "I am Kale, Alpha of the Black Flame Legion, chosen dominant of the Omega Courts. I do not have suppressants, roommates, or toast." He blinked at me. "Okay, champ, let's get you some food before you overthrow the furniture." 10 minutes later, I was sitting at a rickety kitchen table, wearing a hoodie I didn't own, drinking chamomile tea from a mug shaped like a sad cat. Across from me, Gene scrolled through his phone, chewing toast like this was normal. It was not. I transmigrated. I was supposed to enter a high-tier Omegaverse. Harem unlocks, power growth, bond wars, but something glitched. I muttered, "Sure, this is the wrong body, right? I was meant to rule this world, not live in a Craigslist shoebox and puke in a sink." I gestured at the tiny kitchenette. "You always puke in the sink, won't use the toilet." Said it was undignified. Gene said, not looking up. I narrowed my eyes. "Why are you being so casual about this?" He shrugged. "You have breakdowns twice a week. You acting crazy isn't a new thing. This one's just more dramatic." I pressed my hand to my stomach. A strange pressure pulsed there. Heat, tight and low. Something was off. "Take me to a clinic now," I said. We walked into a walk-in clinic that smelled like lemon wipes and trauma. Gene filled out the paperwork. I didn't sit down. My body buzzed. My instincts, my alpha instincts, were on high alert, but I couldn't figure out why. The nurse called my name. The blood work took minutes. The waiting took years. I sat on the edge of the exam table, arms folded, pretending I didn't feel like crawling out of my skin. Gene scrolled his phone again. Still calm. Still boring. "I should be surrounded by Omegas," I snapped. "You are. Emotionally. I should be building an empire. You did. You have a Discord server with 900 followers." He sipped water. "I should not be this." He raised one brow. "What is this exactly?" "Bloated, dizzy, emotional, glowing. My skin is glowing." He smirked. "Looks kind of good, actually." Before I could strangle him, the doctor walked in with a clipboard. She gave me a long, clinical look. "Kale, correct?" "Yes. Fix me." She smiled. "There's nothing wrong with you." I narrowed my eyes. "I threw up this morning." "That's common." "You're pregnant." I stared at her, then at Gene, then back at her. "I'm sorry." "What?" "About 6 weeks along. Rare case but not impossible. Alpha pregnancies have been documented. Hormone levels confirm it." Gene coughed. "Guess that explains the mood swings." You did this?" I stood up. "I mean, I'm the only one who's been sharing a bed with you, so." I turned to the doctor. "Get rid of it." She blinked. "We don't do that until after counseling." "You'll need to." "I am an alpha. You're also a patient, and currently an expecting parent." She handed me a pamphlet with a stupid stork on it. I stared at the pastel cartoon. Jean leaned over and murmured, "You're glowing again. I hate you." Pretty sure that's the hormones talking. Chapter 2. Beta Blues, Alpha Pinks. We didn't speak the whole way back, which was fine, because if I opened my mouth, I was going to either scream, cry, or throw up again, and I wasn't giving Jean the satisfaction of seeing any of it. He just walked beside me, annoyingly steady, hands in his coat pockets like we weren't leaving a clinic that had just declared me a biological punchline. I kept checking my reflection in the passing windows. Still me, still tall, still sharp-jawed, still undeniably alpha. And yet, somehow, pregnant. The word tasted like vinegar and humiliation. Jean unlocked the apartment door. I stormed in, threw off the stupid hoodie, and collapsed face-first onto the couch. This is a dream. A terrible low-resolution dream. I mumbled into the cushions. Jean locked the door behind us and wandered into the kitchen. "Want some pickles?" "Shut up." "Chocolate." "I will end you." He reappeared with a plate. Pickles, chocolate, and toast. What a psychopath. I sat up. "This is all your fault. You were the one who asked for a friend with benefits night." "Oh yeah, this body, the owner must be crazy to lie with a beta. Alphas don't get pregnant because pregnancy. We dominate. We control." I snapped. "You can still dominate. Just with a diaper bag now." I groaned and covered my face. "Why are you like this?" "Because panicking won't change the facts." He reached out, fingers brushing my wrist, and my whole arm tingled. I yanked it away. "Don't touch me. You're running hot." Touch helps balance hormone spikes. "You're a beta, and you're a pregnant alpha. Reality's weird right now. Okay?" His voice was still calm, but quieter now. I hated how steady he sounded. I hated that he wasn't freaking out, wasn't shouting, wasn't doing anything alpha-like. Just sitting there, smelling nice, looking calm, like he just aced a quiz and was waiting for his tea to cool. "You should be more upset. I'm carrying your, whatever this is." I muttered. He tilted his head. "You want me to panic?" "No. I want you to act like this is a serious thing." "I'm here, aren't I?" "That's not the same." There was a pause. Jean leaned forward, elbows on knees. "I'm not running," he said. I looked at him. "You don't even care. You don't know what I care about." His eyes met mine then, and for the first time since this nightmare started, I saw something shift in him, like a curtain pulling back just a crack. Then it was gone. I stood up too fast and wobbled. My stomach rolled. He reached to steady me. I said don't. The moment his hand touched mine, my body flared hot. Not aroused, not romantic, but like a furnace flipped on inside me. "You're overheating," he said, not letting go. "I'm fine." "You're not. You need to lie down." He pressed his palm to my forehead. "I don't." I blinked. My knees buckled. He caught me, carried me actually, bridal style, like it was nothing. "This is temporary?" I whispered, hating how weak I sounded. "Sure. I'm getting my power back. I'll find the system core. I'll re-enter the ascension arc. Totally. And then I'll burn this version of you in a trash fire. I look forward to it." He placed me gently on the bed. I hated how cool the sheets felt, how steady his hands were, how easy it was to close my eyes when he smoothed my hair back like I wasn't the biggest walking disaster in 3 universes. I wanted to curse him. I wanted to push him away. But my body had stopped listening to me, and when he left the room and the door clicked shut, the silence was loud. I curled onto my side and whispered to myself, "Alphas don't fall apart." My hand slipped over my lower stomach. But apparently I do. Chapter 3. The Glowing Shame. When I woke up the next morning, the shame hit first. Then the smell. Something floral. Something warm. Something distinctly not mine. I sat up fast. Jin's hoodie was still around me, clinging to my body heat and his scent. Lavender and mint, faint but sharp enough to make my traitorous brain hum. I threw it across the room like it had insulted my ancestors. Then I looked down. The hem of my shirt had ridden up while I slept. My skin, my alpha skin, glowed faintly gold in the low morning light. No. I stood up, checked the mirror. Same face, same jaw, same sharp eyes, but everything looked softer. This wasn't how alphas looked. This was Omega glow. This was nesting energy. This was... I slammed the mirror shut. There was a knock at the door. Kale? You okay? Jin's voice. Mellow. Annoyingly gentle. I'm fine. I made you eggs. I shuffled into the kitchen like a ghost in sweatpants. Jean was at the stove, barefoot, humming something vaguely jazzy. The apartment was cleaner than yesterday. Laundry gone, trash out, new air freshener plugged into the wall. I stared. You cleaned. Yeah. Thought the scent buildup might mess with your sensitivity. He flipped a pan without looking. I blinked. How do you know that? He shrugged. I read stuff. Since when? Since I found a pregnancy app on your phone and realized I might need to learn fast. I sat. Slowly. My legs weren't shaking anymore, but my pride was fractured beyond repair. Jean slid a plate in front of me. Scrambled eggs, toast, cut fruit arranged into a stupid heart shape. You think this is funny? No, I think it's breakfast, he said. I picked up the fork. I hated that it tasted amazing. He leaned on the counter and watched me too closely. Did you sleep? I don't sleep. I regenerate. Cool. Because you were crying in your sleep. I froze mid-bite. No, I wasn't. Pretty sure you said, my legacy is ruined. And I was born to dominate. I hate you. He smiled. That's probably the hormones talking. I spent the rest of the day researching quietly in my room. Not on my usual quantum interlink. No access to system code. This world didn't work that way. So I was forced to use Jin's old laptop. Plastered with anime stickers and slow enough to make me want to scream. I typed, pregnant alpha symptoms. Alpha glowing skin during pregnancy? Can an alpha imprint on a beta accidentally? I slammed the lid shut after the third article suggested, bond nesting may occur during emotionally intense cuddle sessions. There had been cuddling. I had been emotionally intense. And the nest I built out of hoodies and pillows last night absolutely did not count. I sat in silence, then picked up Jin's hoodie from the floor and sniffed it again. Smelled, right? Which made it worse. Jean was gaming in the living room by evening. I hovered in the hallway watching him, headphones on, legs stretched out, hair tied back, sleeves rolled up. Calm, cool beta. Every part of me wanted to tell him to move, to submit, to act like a subordinate. But when he turned and caught me staring, I looked away first. I walked to the fridge, grabbed a bottle of water. My hands were still shaking. You're nesting again, he said. I'm what? He pointed. You've dragged all the cushions into a weird circle, with snacks in the middle. I looked. He wasn't wrong. That's a coincidence, I said. I like symmetry. And the hoodie in the center? I was testing a hypothesis. He smirked. Sure. I put the water down too hard. Don't do that. Do what? Talk like you know me. Jean pulled off his headphones. Kale, we've lived together for 6 months. I know you hate lukewarm tea. I know you pretend to be asleep when you're sad. I know you only glow when I'm in the room. He stood slowly, walked toward me, not rushed, not aggressive. You're scared, he said. No, you don't have to be. I am not scared. He was in front of me now, closer than I could handle. My breath caught. My skin was humming again. I hated it. Then why are you glowing again? His fingers brushed mine, and I let him. Chapter 4, Whispers and Hormones. I don't remember falling asleep, but I remember waking up to the sound of frying oil and someone humming off key to a song I despise. I sat up, disoriented and pissed. Jean was in the kitchen again, flipping something in a pan. His hair was wet from a shower, his sleeves pushed up to his elbows. He looked like a magazine ad for domestic bliss, and it made me want to bite him, hard, maybe draw blood. Stop humming, I snapped. He didn't even flinch. You say that every morning. I mean it every morning. You also mean it when you steal my hoodie, eat my snacks, and snore loud enough to startle the neighbors. I groaned and rolled out of bed, dragging a blanket with me. I felt bloated, hot, and irritable, like I'd been inflated with anxiety and dumped in someone else's skin. My lower back ached. I hated how good the apartment smelled. I hated that it smelled like him. Breakfast? Jean asked, holding out a plate. I'm not hungry. My stomach growled. He raised one eyebrow. You sure? I hate you. He smiled. Hormones talking. I sat on the couch with the blanket around my shoulders, glaring at my own knees while I ate. Toast, eggs, and something suspiciously fancy. He was garnishing my food now. I need to leave, I said. Where? Away. Somewhere remote. Private. Where no one knows. You don't understand. If people find out, if the world finds out an alpha is pregnant, it'll destroy the hierarchy. Jean shrugged. Maybe it needs destroying. And you were not the only one. There were similar cases. That's beta talk. He grinned. Well, I am one. That was what made this worse. He was still a beta. No fancy title. No grand lineage. Just Jean. Irritating, soft-spoken, unreadable. And yet somehow he made me feel like he was the stable one, and I was the spiraling disaster. Which I hated. Deeply. I'm serious, we have to keep this secret. I muttered. Too late. I blinked. What? He handed me his phone. A headline, anonymous tip, pregnant alpha in the city? Underneath, a blurry photo of me, hoodie stretched over my stomach, face half visible behind sunglasses. Grocery store, 2 days ago. Oh my God. Who? How? I nearly dropped the phone. Probably the cashier. You argued about the price of prenatal vitamins. They were overpriced. You yelled, "Do I look like an Omega to you?" And then stormed out with 2 armfuls of pickles. I pressed the heel of my hand into my forehead. We're leaving. Today. Somewhere no one will find us. Jean didn't argue. Just nodded. Okay. I stared. That's it? You're just going to drop everything and run. You're not safe in the city anymore, and you're getting more sensitive to scent, stress, temperature changes. You need to be somewhere stable. He said, that's not your problem. You're carrying my kid. It's my problem. Something twisted in my chest. I'm not. I started. He walked over and gently touched my shoulder. His scent washed over me again. Clean, calm, annoyingly grounding. You don't have to be alone, Kale. I opened my mouth to argue. Instead, I whispered, I don't even know who I am anymore. He didn't flinch. Then let's figure it out somewhere quiet. We packed that afternoon. Well, he packed. I mostly lay on the bed and threw out dramatic orders while being exhausted by the idea of socks. He didn't complain. Not once. By sunset, we were driving out of the city in Jin's beat-up hatchback. My duffel in the back seat, a pillow under my lower back, and a strange, tight feeling in my chest I couldn't name. You're too calm, I muttered, staring out the window. It's how I cope with panic. You're panicking? I'm driving a pregnant alpha into hiding because someone on the internet noticed your glowing skin. So yeah, a little. I laughed once, bitter and sharp. This is insane. He glanced over. You sure you're okay? I don't know what I am. You're mine. My head whipped toward him. He didn't flinch. Just kept driving. Eyes on the road. Calm, clear, infuriating. You don't get to say that. Why not? Because I'm supposed to own you. You don't, he said. And the worst part? My body relaxed when he said it. Chapter 5. Nesting Instincts. The vacation house wasn't what I expected. I was thinking rustic horror movie. Creaky floors, dusty furniture, haunted antlers on the wall. Instead, it was clean, modern, glass walls, warm lighting, smelled like cedar and vanilla. This is yours, I asked, eyeing the polished hardwood and automatic blinds. Technically my grandmother's, but I'm the only one who uses it. Don't worry, it's off-grid. No neighbors for miles. You can glow in peace. Jean set down the groceries and kicked off his shoes like we weren't fugitives from the internet. I'm not glowing. You're pulsing like a spa lamp. I hate you. He gave me that familiar smirk. Not mocking, not smug, just too calm, too knowing. I walked past him and dropped my bag in the nearest room. Big bed. Too many pillows. Windows with blackout curtains already drawn. I hated how instantly my body wanted to curl up and stay there. Instead, I paced. Something felt off. Not wrong, but wrong for me. The air was too clean. The quiet too thick. The house was still. And that stillness made the instincts rise. By sunset, I'd rearranged the pillows on the bed 4 times. It wasn't intentional. I was just adjusting, shifting, seeking. I didn't want to nest. That was an Omega thing. But somehow, Jin's hoodie ended up in the center of the mattress. I glared at it. It glared back. Then I put another pillow beside it. Just for symmetry. Just for balance. Not because it felt better that way. Jin walked past the doorway, carrying 2 mugs of tea. He paused. Nice circle you're building. It's a square. Looks round from here. It's called geometric compression. And I'm doing it to counter the energy of the room. Sure. He handed me 1 mug and sat on the edge of the bed like he belonged there. He didn't. Not on this bed. Not this close. You're too comfortable, I muttered. I like clean sheets and domestic peace. Sue me. You're a beta. Thanks for the reminder. You're not supposed to be like this. Like what? Like you own the space. You're acting like you belong here and I'm just visiting. I gestured to the room. The tea. Him. Me. He sipped. Maybe you are. I stared at him. I was supposed to be the dominant one, the one in control. I said, quieter now. You still can be. Then why do I feel like the world's tilted under my feet? Because it has. He stood slowly, took my mug, set it down, and then reached out. Not fast, not rough, and touched my stomach. Light, barely pressure. I froze. Don't. Just checking, you've been holding it all day. I figured it's starting to ache. He said. It was. But I hated that he noticed. You shouldn't touch without permission. You didn't pull away. That stopped me. Because I hadn't. That night I tried to sleep. Tried being the key word. I couldn't get comfortable. Too hot. Too cold. Too alone. My skin tingled like it needed something, someone to regulate it. Not like heat, not lust. Just presence. Stupid biology. Stupid hormones. Stupid gene. I kicked the blankets off. Pulled them back on. Fluffed a pillow. Threw it. Immediately regretted it. Got up. Padded down the hall. The light in the living room was still on. Jean was on the couch, feet up, reading a paperback with one of those smug-looking cats on the cover. He looked up, said nothing. I hated that he didn't say anything. I can't sleep, I said. Yeah. Too quiet. Okay. Too many pillows. You added them. I think the baby hates me. He set the book down. You don't believe that. I dropped onto the opposite side of the couch, curling up with a throw blanket I didn't need. It's messing with my brain. It's changing your body. That's not the same. I looked at him. What if I never go back to normal? His voice was quiet. What if this is your new normal? The silence sat between us, heavy and soft. I hated it. I'm scared, I whispered. He didn't flinch. Come here, he said. I didn't move. Kale, come here. Something inside me broke. I scooted closer. Jean opened his arm. I rested my head against his chest. His scent hit me like warm fog. And I didn't glow. I burned. Chapter 6. Dominance disoriented. I didn't mean to fall asleep on Jean. But I woke up there. Head tucked under his chin. One leg slung over his arm across his chest like I was clinging to a life raft. I moved an inch. He stirred. Not much, just shifted to make room for me, and made a low, sleepy sound that hit my spine like an electric wire. I froze. What the hell was I doing? I pulled away like I'd been burned, scrambling off the couch so fast the blanket fell to the floor. Jean cracked one eye open. Morning. You let me sleep on you. You curled into me. I was disoriented. You purred. I do not purr. You made a noise that would make a cat insecure. I grabbed a throw pillow and chucked it at his face. He caught it without blinking. You're impossible. I muttered, stomping off to the kitchen. I spent the next hour drinking aggressively bitter tea and pacing. Then Jean came and started making eggs. I hate your house, I said. That's fair. I hate this body. No, you don't. I hate you. You keep saying that. Because it's true. He cracked another egg. Sure. That's why you sleep in my hoodie, eat all the blueberries, and follow me room to room like a hormonal duckling. I do not. You literally dragged your blanket into the hallway to nap outside the bathroom while I was showering yesterday. That was coincidence. He handed me a plate of eggs and sat cross-legged beside me like we did this every day. And maybe we did. Maybe this was the new normal. Him being calm, me being chaos, and somewhere in between, whatever this was. I had dreams, I said quietly. Jean didn't move, just waited. I was supposed to conquer an empire, build a bond harem, defeat rival alphas. I had stats, a whole ascension arc. You still could. No one follows a glowing, hormonal alpha who cries at commercials. You cried at one commercial. He adopted the dog and the kitten, Jean. At the same time, I shoved a forkful of eggs in my mouth before I could start weeping again. Jin's voice was quiet. You think all of this makes you weaker. It does. It doesn't. Then what does it make me? He paused. Then, it makes you real. That shut me up. I stayed quiet the rest of the day. Tried to read. Didn't absorb a word. Rearranged the pillows again. Took a nap I didn't mean to. Woke up in another one of Jin's hoodies. I didn't even remember putting it on. Worse, it smelled like him, which made something in my chest settle in the most humiliating way. That evening, I sat at the kitchen table while Jean cooked again. He did it too naturally. Like this whole situation wasn't bizarre. Like he hadn't just adjusted. He didn't act like he was waiting for me to explode. He acted like he was waiting for me to breathe. I don't get you, I said quietly. He glanced back. What part? All of it. I'm just here. That's exactly it, I said. You're a beta. You're supposed to be passive. Forgettable. But you're not. You're centered. Unshakable. He shrugged. I've been through worse. Worse than accidentally impregnating a displaced alpha demigod with a superiority complex? He smiled. Yeah. High school was rough. I rolled my eyes, but the smile lingered in my chest longer than it should have. Later that night, I woke up from a nightmare. Don't remember the details. Just heat and fear and pressure. I was breathing too fast. My skin prickled with panic. I stumbled out of bed and found myself standing outside his room. His door was cracked open. I hesitated, then pushed the door open and whispered, Jean. He shifted under the covers. Yeah. I had a dream. Another beat. Then the covers lifted slightly. Come here. And I did. Chapter 7. Cravings and Clarity. I woke up in Jin's bed, wrapped in the scent of him, that infuriatingly clean lavender mint that always smells like calm mornings. The worst part? I was comfortable. Truly, disgustingly comfortable. One of my legs was draped over his. My face was pressed against his chest, which, by the way, was very firm and warm, and, unfortunately, perfectly shaped for nuzzling. Not that I was nuzzling. Okay, I might have been nuzzling a little. I shifted slightly. His arm tightened around my waist without waking, like his body just knew where I belonged. And mine didn't argue. Traitor. I slipped out of bed an hour later while Jean still slept, or pretended to. I didn't ask. I didn't look back. I just dragged myself into the kitchen and did the only thing my body seemed capable of. Craving something. This time it was spicy noodles. Not regular spicy. Stupid level spicy. The kind of heat that made your eyes water and your ancestors cry out from the afterlife. I found a pack in the pantry and started making it. Jean padded into the kitchen 10 minutes later. Shirtless. Hair a disaster. Face soft with sleep. He paused in the doorway. Blinked. You made a fire hazard. Smells like violence. He said. Spicy noodles. For two. Maybe. He grabbed a second bowl without a word. I hated that he just knew. We sat at the kitchen counter, eating in silence. And it wasn't awkward. It was easy. Too easy. I pushed the empty bowl away and slumped over the counter. Cravings getting worse? Jean asked. More specific. Like my body knows exactly what it wants before I do. I muttered. He handed me a napkin. What did it want today? I wiped my mouth. Noodles. Your hoodie. And I stopped. He waited. I looked down. And you? Silence. Then he set down his bowl. Came closer. Is it just the hormones? He asked softly. I opened my mouth to say yes. To blame it on the pregnancy. On the nesting. On the bond. But I couldn't lie with him standing this close. I don't know, I whispered. I don't know what's me anymore. He reached out and gently touched the side of my face. His thumb brushed under my eye. I didn't realize there were tears there until he wiped one away. You're still you, just softer in places, he said. I hate this. I know. I feel like I'm losing everything. You're not. Don't flirt with me when I look like a bio-lantern. He smiled. Would it help if I told you you're still the most terrifying person I know? I snorted. Slightly. That afternoon, he drove us to a private clinic out in the hills. No crowds. No flashing cameras. Just a quiet doctor who didn't flinch when she saw my file. She asked about my symptoms. I didn't speak much. Jean answered most of the questions. He knew my schedule better than I did. Tracked every change. Every shift. Every detail. When the scan began, I braced myself. The screen lit up. The grainy image blinked to life. There. Center screen. Tiny flickering light. Heartbeat. Mine stuttered. That's... I started. The doctor smiled. Healthy. Growing on pace. Couldn't breathe. The doctor left the room to give us space. I kept staring at the monitor. At that impossible light. The life inside me. The mistake. The miracle. The bond one didn't ask for. And then Jin's hand slid into mine. I didn't pull away. I squeezed it tight. In the car, we didn't talk. Not until we pulled up to the house. I sat in the passenger seat, hands still curled in my lap, throat full of words I didn't know how to say. Then I looked at him and whispered, "Why are you doing this?" He blinked. Doing what? Staying. His voice didn't waver. Because you're mine. Chapter 8, Public Outing, Private Realization. It was supposed to be a 10-minute trip. Groceries. Snacks. So, that was it. I told Jean I'd go alone. He didn't argue, but his eyes lingered a little too long when he handed me the list. I wore sunglasses, a hat, and a long coat, like some undercover celebrity avoiding scandal, which, in hindsight, was exactly what I was. The little hill town was quiet. One main street, 2 cafes, and a family-run grocery store with hand-drawn sales signs. No flashing cameras. No hover drones. Just sleepy-eyed locals and a bored-looking teenage cashier. I kept my head down, grabbed what I needed: eggs, soap, pickles, chili flakes. A new scent candle, because apparently smoked leather and musk helped my stomach settle. I was at the register, tapping my card, when I saw her. A girl, maybe 16, holding a phone, pointed at me, wide-eyed, whispering to her friend. They weren't from here, I could tell. Too polished, too curious. My stomach dropped. I bolted out of the store without the receipt. Took the side alley. Duck and weave. Just like in training. Keep moving. Head down. The whole time I could feel it rising, that horrible, crawling, familiar burn of exposure. By the time I reached the house, I was panting. Jean was on the porch, phone in hand. His face was unreadable. I was only gone 20 minutes, I said, breathless. He held up the phone. On screen, a photo of me, today, walking out of the store. Caption, "Pregnant Alpha?" It already had over 80,000 shares. I didn't speak, just stared. Then, calmly, I walked inside and threw the grocery bag across the room. Jean found me in the bedroom 15 minutes later, curled up on the floor, pressed against a wall I didn't remember crawling to. I wasn't crying. I wasn't. Except I was. "Kale, don't," I snapped, but my voice cracked. He knelt beside me, didn't touch me, I should have gone, he said quietly. This isn't your fault. He stayed silent, and that made it worse, because he knew I didn't believe it. I saw myself in the mirror when I got back, I whispered. Jean didn't move. I looked soft, round, fragile. I said, you looked like someone protecting something. I looked weak. You looked human. I'm not supposed to be. Now he touched me, his hand sliding over mine, grounding. I was supposed to be a storm, unstoppable. I was meant to conquer this world, Jean. Instead, I can't go outside without someone whispering about how I glow. I said, choking. He didn't interrupt. He didn't try to correct me. He let me break. And that's what did it. Because I finally let myself say it out loud. I'm scared, I whispered. He didn't flinch. Of what? I turned to him. That I won't want to leave. His breath caught, barely. And then he leaned in. Not fast. Not sudden. Just close enough to brush his forehead against mine. You don't have to decide today. I used to have a plan, I said. You still do. It's just different now. What if I'm not ready for different? His voice dropped. Then let me be ready for both of us. That night, we didn't sleep in separate rooms. We didn't talk much either. I lay curled under the blankets while Jin's hand stayed resting on my stomach, like a quiet promise he hadn't made out loud. Chapter 9. Fever high, walls down. It started with the scent. Everything smelled wrong. Too sharp. Too sweet. Too much. I opened my eyes, and the room spun like it had slipped sideways. My skin burned under the sheets, heat radiating from every pore. My limbs felt heavy, sluggish. My head throbbed in time with my pulse. Jean, I croaked. No answer. The walls felt too close. The bed too soft. The air too thick. And then it hit me. Heat. Not an omega heat. Something worse. Alpha heat triggered by pregnancy instability. Rare. Dangerous. Raw. I gritted my teeth and forced myself upright. But the world tilted and I collapsed to my knees. Everything inside me screamed. My instincts were on fire. I couldn't breathe without trembling. Jean! I gasped again louder. I didn't even make it out the door before the fever slammed into me full force. The next thing I remember was cold. Hands. Damp cloths. A voice I couldn't chase away, even if I wanted to. Kale. Stay with me. The voice grounded me, dragged me back. Jean. I blinked, and light stabbed my eyes. He was kneeling beside the bed, shirt off, hair damp, forehead beaded with sweat. The room smelled like citrus and him thick and anchoring. Can't breathe, I whispered. I know, just ride it out. I've got you, he said. Everything's wrong. Your hormones spiked. Fever kicked in. The doctor warned this could happen. You just need regulation. I shook my head. No, I'm not. I'm not supposed to. I'm alpha, Jean. Alpha. We don't need. You need me right now. I choked. Don't say it like that. Like what? Like you mean it. He pulled me against him. His bare skin was cold. Mine was fire. And when our bodies touched, something clicked. Like puzzle pieces finally falling into place. Not lust. Not want. Need. He pressed his forehead to mine. I do mean it. I broke. I don't remember crying. Just the moment it stopped mattering. My face was buried in his neck. Arms locked around him. Body trembling like a snapped wire. I felt stripped down to nerve endings. Nothing left but the sound of his heartbeat and the slow rise and fall of his breath. I had never needed anyone in my life. Until now. You're okay. I'm right here. He kept whispering. I didn't deserve this. This comfort. This steadiness. But I clung to it anyway. Hours passed. Maybe days. Eventually, the fever broke. My skin cooled. My mind cleared. The fog lifted, slow, thick, reluctant. I woke up tangled in him. My head on his chest. His arms around my waist. One of his hands resting over my stomach. Protective. Possessive. Like I was something fragile. Like I was something his. I'm sorry, I mumbled. He shifted but didn't let go. For what? For breaking. For needing you. He pulled me tighter. I want you to need me. I swallowed hard. "You're not just here because of the baby, are you?" I asked. "No," he said, and that word, that single steady no, hit me harder than anything else ever had. I didn't know what I was to him, but I knew what he was becoming to me. The only place I felt safe. The only thing that made the fire stop. Chapter 10. Obsession or Affection. I started dreaming of him. Not in the way I used to dream of power, war, or victory. No, these dreams were quieter. In one, we were lying in the sun, his hand on my stomach, his other hand brushing through my hair like it was the most natural thing in the world. In another, he kissed my forehead and whispered something I couldn't hear, but my whole body reacted like it was a command. I always woke up with the same ache. Not physical, emotional, and it scared the hell out of me. I started tracking him. Not openly. I just listened for his footsteps, the sound of the front door, how long he stayed in the shower, how many minutes passed between him getting up and him coming to check on me. Once, he took too long on a grocery run and I stood on the porch for 20 minutes, arms crossed, stomach churning like I was preparing for battle. He came back with strawberries and didn't question my expression. Of course he didn't. He always gave me the space to fall apart quietly, which made me want to cling harder. He left his journal out one morning. I told myself not to open it. I opened it anyway. It wasn't anything dramatic. No love confessions or secret sketches of our future child. It was worse. Pages and pages of notes. Every symptom, every hormone spike, every scent change. What foods I liked, what scents calmed me, my sleep cycles, the way I curled inward when I was upset. And one line, written small at the bottom of a page. He pretends he doesn't need me, but he clings in his sleep. I shut the book and walked away before I could process the sound in my throat. It was somewhere between a gasp and a sob. Later, I found him in the garden, kneeling in the sun, sleeves rolled up, hair tied back, dirt on his hands, like he was made to fit in quiet places. I stood at the edge of the porch and didn't say anything. I just watched him. "You're staring," he said without looking up. "No, I'm not. You always do when you're thinking too loud." "I'm not thinking." He looked up, smiled slightly. "Then come sit. I don't want to get dirt on me." "I read your journal," I said. He didn't stop working, just nodded once. I figured. Why? Why did I write it? Why track everything? He sat back on his heels, wiped sweat from his brow with the back of his arm. "Because I wanted to understand." "Understand what?" "You." I looked at him. "Do you love me?" He blinked. "That's not the question I expected." "Answer it anyway." He didn't speak for a long moment. Then, "I think I'm afraid to say yes." "Why?" "Because you still don't know what you feel." I hated how true that was. That night, I dreamed of someone else touching him. Not romantically, just standing too close, laughing at something he said. And I woke up furious. No reason, no logic, just fire in my chest and a tightness in my fists I couldn't explain. I went looking for him immediately, found him in the kitchen, chopping vegetables like he hadn't just ruined me in a dream. I walked up behind him, slid my arms around his waist, rested my cheek against his shoulder blade. He froze. "Kale? Don't move." He didn't. I pressed my nose against the back of his neck. Inhaled. The scent hit me so hard I nearly moaned. "Mine," I whispered. He turned slowly. His eyes were wide, careful, but he didn't pull away. "You're bonding," he said. "I know. Are you okay with that?" "No, but I don't care anymore," I said. He lifted a hand, brushed my hair back, touched my face like I was breakable, and for once I let him. Chapter 11. Baby Kicks and Soft Confessions. The rain started just before sunset. Soft, steady, not a storm, just sound. Comforting. I was curled sideways on the couch, legs stretched across his lap. A throw blanket was draped over us. He was reading again. Something nonfiction. Something boring. I wasn't reading. I was pretending to sleep. But really, I was just listening to the rain. And to him. Every time he turned a page, His thumb brushed the edge like he was being careful not to bend it. Every few minutes, he'd glance down at me. Not to check if I was okay, but like he knew I wasn't asleep and was waiting for me to admit it. I didn't, but I shifted just slightly. My side pressed more into his stomach. My hand slid under the blanket and rested on my belly. It wasn't as flat anymore. Still subtle, but different. Warmer. Fuller. His hand moved from my ankle to my thigh. Then slowly, like I was a bomb he didn't want to set off, he reached under the blanket and covered my hand with his. We didn't speak. We just sat there, touching, breathing, wanting. Then it happened. The lightest flutter. A nudge. Like someone tapped me from the inside. I stiffened. Jean noticed. What is it? I swallowed. It moved. He blinked. The baby. Yeah. Another kick. Stronger this time. Oh my God. It kicked. I whispered, stunned. Jean dropped the book. Fully focused now. Can I? I took his hand. Guided it. Placed it where I felt the movement. Then we waited. 1 beat. 2. And then, kick. He gasped. Then laughed. Not loud, but honest. I didn't know what to do with the look on his face. Awe, joy, love. My throat closed up. That's real, he whispered. Yeah, it's real, I said. He kept his hand there, like he didn't want to lose the moment, like he wanted to memorize it. It knows your voice, I said. He looked at me. You think so? I know so. The next kick was harder. I winced, more from the rush of emotion than the impact. And suddenly I wasn't on the couch anymore. I was in the future, just for a second. I saw Jean in a kitchen holding a tiny bundle in one arm, stirring soup with the other. I saw myself beside him. I pulled the blanket higher, snuggled into his chest, felt him wrap both arms around me, protectively. I don't want to leave, I said, barely audible. Jean kissed my hair. Then stay. I'm supposed to go back. When the system resets. When the arc realigns. Who says? I do, that's the problem. I whispered. He didn't argue. He just held me tighter. And for the first time, I stopped preparing to run. I started wondering what it would mean to stay. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. Chapter 12. The Reversal of Reversals. The glitch corrected itself on a Thursday. I felt it in my bones before the message even came. A ripple under my skin. Like reality twitching. Like the system waking up and remembering I wasn't supposed to be here. Then, the screen on Jin's tablet flickered. Just once. Enough. I opened the diagnostics menu without thinking. Hidden code. Layered commands. The kind of interface only a displaced soul like mine could read. Restoration pathway. Available. Reclaim original system arc. There it was. My way home. My rank. My legacy. My control. The empire I built brick by brutal brick. And it was waiting for me like it had never stopped. I stared at it. For a long time. Jean found me on the porch. I didn't hide the screen. He deserved better than that. He leaned against the railing beside me, quiet as ever. When he finally spoke, his voice was neutral. So all your crazy talk is true. I can see the so-called system. It's open. Yeah. You could go back. I know. You could rule again. Yeah. You could forget this ever happened. I looked at him, and his eyes, calm, steady, unreadable, did something to me I wasn't ready for. You're not going to stop me? I asked. No, you were never mine to keep, he said. That stung. Because part of me wanted him to fight for me, to argue, to claim. But that wasn't Jean. He wouldn't pull me in. He'd just stay and let me choose, which was worse. Couldn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, his scent clinging to the sheets. The baby kicked twice, soft, rhythmic. I counted them like they were seconds. My mind spun circles. The system offered everything I used to believe mattered. Power, reputation, security, a role I understood. But it didn't offer him. Didn't offer this. Jin's dumb pancake mornings. The warmth of his palm on my back when I had nightmares. The way he tracked my cravings like it was a science project and not his entire personality now. The soft smiles. The quiet patience. The way he never once called me weak. Not even when I broke down sobbing into his shirt at 3 a.m., afraid of what I was becoming. He never judged me. He just stayed. I got up before sunrise. Found him sitting at the table, hands around a mug. Eyes tired. Awake anyway. He looked up. Waited. No pressure. Just presence. "You knew," I said. He nodded. "I felt it. I'm supposed to go. I know. If I don't, the story doesn't complete." He tilted his head. "What if it's not that story anymore? I was built for power," I whispered. "You were built for more than that." I sat down across from him. The quiet between us was full of everything I didn't know how to say. He broke it first. "If you leave, I'll understand," he said, voice low. I stared at him. "I'll even tell the baby you were brave," he added. Tears hit my eyes before I could stop them. I stood, walked around the table, pulled him to his feet, and I kissed him. Hard. Not careful. Not sweet. Desperate. Certain. Claiming. His hands gripped my waist. One slid instinctively to my stomach. The other stayed cradling my face like I was something worth holding. When we broke apart, I didn't pull away. I rested my forehead against his, and whispered, "I'm not going." He exhaled shakily. "You sure? I don't want a story without you in it." The system screen blinked once, then faded. Offer expired. I didn't care, because what I had here wasn't part of any arc. It wasn't coded. It wasn't written. It was mine. Chapter 13. Claim, counterclaim. I didn't plan it, but maybe that's what made it real. Just us. Late at night. Our breaths sinking under a blanket we didn't bother straightening. The baby was still, peaceful, and so was I, for the first time in my entire life. Jean was lying beside me, half asleep, one hand on my stomach. I watched his chest rise and fall, counted the tiny shifts in his expression, studied the curve of his mouth, the shadow of his lashes. He looked like home, that dangerous kind of home you never knew you needed until you'd lived without it for too long. "Jean," I said quietly. He opened his eyes, soft, alert. "Yeah, I want to do it." He blinked. "Do what?" "The bond." His breath caught. Then, "Are you sure?" "No, but I want it anyway," I said. He sat up slowly, careful not to jostle me. "Kale, I know what it means. I don't want you doing this just because you think you owe me. This isn't about owing you. It's about choosing you." I cut in. That shut him up. I reached out and took his hand, laced our fingers together. His pulse jumped under my thumb. "I want to be tied to something real, to you. Not a title. Not a system. You," I said. He exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for months, then nodded. "Okay." He moved with purpose, slow, reverent, like touching me was a ritual. He leaned in and kissed my pulse point first. A soft, grounding press, not claiming, inviting. Then another kiss, at the curve of my jaw. Another at my collarbone. He was tracing the path to my soul like it was something he already knew by heart. I let him. No, I wanted him to. When his lips brushed the scent gland at the base of my neck, my breath hitched. My entire body reacted. Tension and electricity and a flood of instinct I'd been bottling for too long. "Are you ready?" he whispered. I nodded, then tilted my head, and offered him my throat. The bond wasn't fireworks. It wasn't pain or shock or some holy light show. It was recognition, like something inside me finally exhaled. I felt his presence settle into me, not as a weight, but as a warmth. A tether. The bond slid into place like it had always been waiting for permission, and I let it happen. When it was my turn, I moved without thinking, leaned forward, pressed my lips against his neck, breathed him in like I was anchoring myself to the air. "I claim you," I whispered. His whole body stilled. Then he turned, met my mouth with his, not a kiss of lust, but of promise. His hands cupped my face like I might vanish if he blinked. "You were always mine, Even when you hated me, he said. I never hated you. I know. I rested my forehead against his. Gene, you're not just the father of this child. I murmured. He didn't move. You're the reason I want to become someone better. He smiled, slow, full, devastating. You already are. Later, when we lay tangled together, our bond humming like a second heartbeat between us, I whispered the thing I never thought I'd say. I don't miss who I was. Gene pulled me closer. You don't have to be him anymore. And just like that, I wasn't. Chapter 14, Alpha, Beta, Family. The house was louder now. Not chaotic. Not unbearable. Just alive. Soft cries echoing through the rooms. The creak of floorboards under late-night pacing. Laughter. Tired, warm, and real. As Gene tried to hum lullabies off-key, I used to think silence was power. That control was strength. That stillness meant peace. I don't think that anymore. Now peace is this, a baby asleep on my chest. Gene curled beside me, his hand loosely gripping my wrist, like I might float away if he let go. My world, held together by skin and heartbeat. The baby kicked again, not like before, not from the inside. Now those tiny feet belonged to a person. A son. Our son. I still wasn't used to saying it out loud. Not because it didn't feel real, but because it felt too real. More than empires. More than titles. More than every throne I ever thought I wanted. His name was Ren. Gene chose it. And somehow he knew exactly what would fit. Something clean, soft, solid. Like him. I shifted slowly, careful not to wake the baby, and looked at Gene. He was half asleep, mouth parted slightly. There were dark circles under his eyes, stubble on his jaw, hair a wreck. Perfect. Absolutely, painfully perfect. He stirred. Eyes blinked open. You're staring again, he mumbled. So what? Can't I look at what's mine? He smiled without opening his eyes. You say that every morning. Because it's true. I leaned down and kissed his temple. Ren gurgled softly, wiggling. Gene sat up, rubbed his face, then reached over to gently stroke Ren's back. We watched him together. Two people who used to be strangers, now tethered by something neither of us saw coming. Something better than any story we thought we were in. I tucked Ren closer to my chest. His little fingers gripped my shirt like he already knew what he had. I wasn't glowing anymore. Not in the biological way. But when Gene looked at me like that, I felt radiant. I used to think being alpha meant leading. It meant being feared, obeyed, unshakable. But now I know the truth. Being alpha means choosing. Choosing to love, to stay, to be soft when it would be easier to be cold. And sometimes, it means letting yourself be led by the person who never needed to prove anything because they've been steady all along. Hey, Gene whispered as he kissed the back of my neck. You're glowing again. I smiled. Yeah, I know.